Hello, ALBC, and my name is Reverend Peter Fast, and we are back with the fifth and final video about the Purim story, the book of Esther. So the last video ended with Haman, his death on the gallows, and chapter 7, verse 10 says, "So they hanged Haman on the gallows which he had prepared for Mordecai." There we go. Okay. Got that over with. And the king's anger abated. Okay, so going into chapter 8, this is where Mordecai is appointed the prime minister, or a prime minister, a very, basically a high role. And Esther begs the king to avert Haman's decree. Because even though Haman has been hung and put to death, his decree has still gone out, which was to kill every single Jewish person, women and men, old and young. And so Esther, still, there's a crisis here. She goes before the king, and the king gives basically his authorization. He grants permission for to override the decree, for the Jews to resist, and they do. And basically the letters or new decrees are sent out, and the Jewish people resist. It says that basically the contents of the document were to be promulgated in every province and be published to all people, so that the Jews should be ready on that day to avenge themselves. That's chapter 8, verse 13. And so this is an incredible thing, because you have the humble Jewish man, Mordecai, who saves the day with the plot to assassinate the king. And then he encourages Esther to go before the king. And with this whole plot with Haman, that is averted. Haman, is hung on his own gallows. And then the decree that Haman sent out, I'm not going to do another the decree that Haman sent out, permission is given for the Jews to resist and avenge themselves. Mordecai here at the end of chapter 8 is basically adorned with a royal apparel of blue and white, with a large gold crown and a robe of fine linen and purple. And then the city of Shushan was cheerful and glad. That's verse 15 of 8. And when we go into chapter 9, the 13th day of Adar comes, and it says the Jews organized themselves in their cities throughout all the provinces of King Ahasuerus to attack those who sought their hurt, and no one stood in their way, for fear of them had fallen upon all the peoples. And basically the Jewish people survive. It says they struck at all their enemies with the sword, slaughtering and annihilating them. They treated their enemies as they pleased. In Shushan, the capital, the Jews slew and annihilated 500 men, and it goes through. So these were people connected with Haman that were going to do his dirty work, and the king turns it on its head, and the Jewish people survive and react and get spoils and basically survive the day. And so the book wraps up with Mordecai recording these events and legislates an annual commemoration. And we find out in chapter 9 of 28, this is pretty neat here. Consequently, these days should be remembered and celebrated by every single generation, family, province, and city. And these days of Purim should never cease among the Jews, nor shall their remembrance perish from their descendants. It's going to be forever. This is going to be a forever celebration. And it's amazing that even in Jewish thought, they believe that even when the Messiah comes, Purim will continue to be celebrated, which is pretty amazing, because right here it says it's going to be celebrated forever, which no other feast is clear in their kind of forever context of celebration. Only Purim. So it's very fascinating. Chapter 10 is the epilogue of King Ahasuerus. He levies taxes. He strengthens his rule. And Mordecai the Jew, it says, was viceroy to King Ahasuerus. He was a great man among the Jews and popular with the multitude of his brethren. He sought the good of his people and was concerned for their welfare of all his posterity. So as as believers in the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, as believers in Jesus the Messiah, this is amazing because this is not only just biblical history, but this is God rescuing his people, the covenant-keeping God who is faithful to you and me, and he's faithful to his church, and he's faithful to Israel, his people, and he is continuing to do amazing, mighty works in our day, and he will rescue his people, and he will return and set up his throne. Amen. God bless and shalom.